everyone, I've really been enjoying watching your videos, both the rest of your book review videos last week as well as your rant videos this week. You all have some very interesting opinions. I have a couple of responses. Kate?
Yes, there is a Daria poster hanging on my wall in the background.
And also Leo wanted to know if anybody here sniffs books. And to that I have to say, in order to decrease world suck this week, I went to the local animal shelter and adopted a kitten. And he is adorable. He came home with us yesterday and he has been adjusting very well. Come here. Say hello. Here he is. He won't let go of his toy. Oh, isn't he adorable? There go. I'd like to talk about something that's been on my mind recently. Because I got into an argument with somebody about this recently on Facebook, which is gender policing. I posted to my Facebook wall, am I the only person in the world who doesn't think that the Justin Bieber is a girl jokes are funny? And I got into this little argument with a friend about it. And at one point he said, I do not see how calling Justin Bieber a girl as an insult is insulting to women. And I was like, really? Really? First of all, to understand gender policing, you need to understand that there are two different components to gender. You have a gender identity, and first of all, gender is different from sex. Gender has absolutely nothing to do with sex. Most people in the world are cisgendered, which means that their gender and their sex align. But there are also people whose gender and whose sex do not align, and that is a perfectly valid range of human expression. Then you have your gender expression or your gender performance, because gender is performative. We can tell that it's a social construct because gender is not performed the same across different cultures. In some cultures, cooking and cleaning is feminine, and in some cultures, like if you're a lion, going out and hunting and killing dinner and skinning it yourself is feminine. And in some cultures, they don't just have male and female. Like there are a number of Native American cultures that had a third gender for people who fell in between, and that was seen as an entirely different gender. Okay, so gender is a social construct and gender is performative. So there is a social aspect to gender, which is how people perceive you, your gender expression or your gender performance. What we are saying when we are gender policing is, number one, someone's gender performance, the way that we see someone performing their gender, is not valid. And number two, what we are saying is that because their gender performance does not align with what we see as their gender, that is saying that their gender identity is invalid. So for example, we have Justin Bieber. He's got the floppy hair and the teen pop star heartthrob thing going on. And so we say, I don't think Justin Bieber is masculine enough to be male, ergo he is female. Which doesn't make any sense, because if Justin Bieber were female, that would mean that the hundreds and thousands of screaming fangirls would all be lesbians. And sadly, there are not that many lesbians in the world. And when I was talking to my friend on Facebook, he was like, well, we're embarrassed to have Justin Bieber as a member of our gender, so we are rejecting him. And what I want to know is when people are rejecting people as members of their gender, you know, why men are all like, ooh, Justin Bieber, I don't want to share a gender with Justin Bieber, therefore I'm going to call him a girl. But nobody's ever like, oh, Hitler, I don't want to share a gender with Hitler. Nobody is ever saying that they don't want to share a gender with these hateful people, these people who spew, like, virulent hate, or these people who kill millions and millions of people. Nobody has ever said, I don't want Hitler to count as a male because I think that's offensive to my gender. No, it's always like, oh, Justin Bieber, I don't like him. I don't want him to be a member of my gender. No, just stop. Do you realize how stupid this makes you sound? If you can pick and choose who you want to share a gender with, you are being extremely, extremely petty, and it is making you look really, really bad. The thing that I find worst about gender policing is that it seems really innocuous. You know, like sometimes these jokes, I mean, they seem funny, or it doesn't seem like they can hurt people, but gender policing can hurt people, and it does hurt people. So let's take, for example, the insult that's often levied against Ann Coulter is that she is a tranny. And why do they say this? Is it because she behaves in an aggressive manner? Is it because she doesn't look super feminine? And it seems pretty innocuous. It's just like, oh yeah, well, she doesn't look super feminine, and yeah, she is pretty aggressive. But it's saying a number of really dangerous things, which is, number one, that you can look at someone and you can tell from their gender expression what their sex is. And that's also saying that somebody's sex matters at all, which it really doesn't. It doesn't matter what chromosomes people were born with, and it really doesn't matter what's in their pants. It's none of your business what set of genitals people have. So it's saying, number one, you can look at somebody on the street and pinpoint whether or not they are trans. Number two, it's also saying that there is only one appropriate way to be female, and if you do not behave in this way, you are male. It is invalidating the gender identity and gender performance of uncountable numbers of women who do not conform to these rigid standards that have been set by society. Number three, it is also normalizing the use of a word, tranny, which is often levied against trans women in a hateful, hurtful, offensively transphobic and transmisogynistic way. There's no excuse for using the word tranny to describe anything. Basically, what gender policing comes down to is it is looking at somebody and saying, your gender performance is not valid, and therefore I cast doubt on your gender identity. What it is saying is that you cannot behave in the way that you want. You have to behave in the way that society dictates. And if you go against the way that one person in a society narrowly defines gender, then your gender identity, which you have chosen for yourself, which only you can choose and only you can know, is invalid. This is really harmful for trans people whose gender identity has been called into question anyway, just because their gender identity does not align with their sex. But it's also harmful for anybody who wishes to behave in the way that they choose. It shouldn't be possible for us to look at somebody and say, you are not male, you are not adequately male enough for me, or you are not female, you are not adequately female enough for me. We should just not do this. Somebody's gender is their own business, and if they fail to perform to society's standards, I mean, that's not affecting us in any way, and so we shouldn't call them out on this. Anyway, there was my rant. I am looking forward to watching the rest of this week's videos, and guys, I will see you again next week. Don't forget to be awesome! And if you have any room for another in your home, you should really consider going to an animal shelter and rescuing a little animal who will love you for the rest of its life. Not only will you be immensely decreasing the amount of world suck for one lucky little animal, you will also be increasing the amount of world awesome in your life.